she hated that name because it sounded icky, so she went by Ellie. Her favorite flower was the Bartisia alpina, because even though it wasn't the prettiest flower, it reminded her of her cat Lou, whose fur was gray, but in a way that reflected light to make a midnight purple color. She and Lou would lie on the wide stretch of green fields on her family's 20-acre farmland and laugh about how some of the clouds seemed incapable of making any shape other than the standard oval. Louis, her brother, would come and make fun of her for talking to her cat, only to join them a few moments later. She would laugh about how some of the clouds looked like monkeys, while others looked like some of Grandma's many, many hats that were stored in the attic. Louis would say how she was being dumb and how he, a much smarter and older 7-year-old, knew for a fact that the clouds looked more like army men and dinosaurs. Now, 4 years doesn't sound like very much, but since that's all that Ellie had over her shoulder, she was going to fight to the death and back with her brother about how 3 years wasn't much of a difference between them, even though that was more than half how old she was. They argued and pouted until Lou got tired of the repetitive scuffle and lurked into the shade of an old oak tree out back, Ellie, of course, following close behind. It was an exciting day for Ellie when Louis asked her if she wanted to play hide-and-go-seek. Her heart flew away, and she danced in a trance-like way that Louis said made her feet look like they were glued to the floor. After their brief separation, Ellie and her heart jumped up and down, exclaiming how she wanted to hide first. Louis, being the older brother he was, shook his head no and motioned for her to go stand in the corner and count. Even though he hid in the same place every single time, at least once every single time they played, it still took Ellie around 6 minutes to find her brother, concealed beneath the toy chest in the playroom. But now it was Ellie's turn. She had scouted for hours just a week before, looking for the perfect place, asking Lou what he thought of each. And finally she had found one, and was ready to show off her superiority in hiding to her brother. She climbed the stairs to their musty, yet roomy attic, and looked for the very thing that would finally make her brother be quiet about her age. An old trunk in the far left corner of the room caught her eye as it had before. She smiled and tiptoed over to it. She opened it and lay down on the wooden bottom. She closed it and laughed one last time, and then waited for her brother to come. Meanwhile, downstairs, Louis searched for his sister. He spent 20 minutes looking through the first floor, another 15 the second, but could not find his sister. He wondered how she hadn't exposed herself by laughing at how he couldn't find her. He suddenly felt foolish. He realized that this had to be a trick, that she was probably outside right now, talking to Lou, telling about how stupid he looked. He looked 10 more minutes before finally just calling out, "Okay, Ellie, you win. You beat me at hide-and-go-seek." She didn't reply, so he just thought that she was trying to humiliate him even more. So he just shouted at the top of his lungs, "Okay, you win!" Ellie waited for her brother to come, but dare not expose where she hid, otherwise he would be as impressed with her hiding spot. He didn't know that 2 floors up within a chest, she couldn't hear him. She didn't know that he had given up and watched TV. No one knew anything until Grandma went looking for her. She opened the chest, revealing Ellie. She shook her head and said, "You shouldn't play in that. It's dangerous." She looked at her for a moment at her unresponsive granddaughter. She grabbed her, she started shaking her, screaming her name. Screaming for somebody, anybody to help. Louis ran up. He didn't understand what was going on. He was screaming at Ellie, Ellie to get up, that it wasn't funny. Lou comes in and claws his way past everyone. He jumps into the trunk, smelling the girl who raised him. He lays down on her chest, purring. He licks her cheek. He stops purring because he knows that there's something wrong. He meows and bats her nose. But nothing can wake the girl who only wanted to win hide-and-go-seek. People are rushing around. I stand now looking in her room at the vibrant colors, and Lou lying on her bed, waiting for her to come and explain why those men took him away from her. I look at her clothes on the chair, and how she'll never get to wear them on her first day of school. Her shoes by the nightstand, how she'll never get to grow on a size 9. How she'll never get to tell her grandchildren about her life, the one that just started when she left. I look at her brother blaming himself, her parents blaming themselves, everyone claiming there's something they could have done, but didn't because they didn't know. I look at myself, and I realize that no one knows anything, especially not what happens after life, like they've been trying to figure out for so long. But not anymore. Ellie knows. Thank you.